Picture this. I'm standing at my kitchen window, staring out at the gray drizzle coating our little suburban street. The kind of rain that doesn't commit to a storm, but just lingers, heavy and dull. My name's Amber, and at 35, I've carved out a life that looks neat enough on the outside. But inside, that's a different story. I'm married to Ryan, have been for 8 years now. He's 38, a sales manager who's always chasing the next deal, the next late night at the office that somehow turns into drinks with the guys. We've got this modest home just outside Chicago, tucked into a quiet neighborhood where the biggest excitement is the neighbor's dog barking at squirrels. It's safe. It's predictable. And sometimes, it feels like a cage. I work from home, freelancing as a graphic designer. Part-time gigs mean I've got flexibility, sure. But they also mean long stretches of silence. Just me and my thoughts bouncing off these walls. I used to love the quiet, back when Ryan and I would steal moments together, laughing over nothing, tangled up in each other like the world outside didn't exist. Those days, though, God, they feel like a lifetime ago. Now, our marriage is more like a well-worn path. We walk it because we know it, not because it leads anywhere new. Stable, I guess you'd call it, but strained too. There's a distance growing between us, one I can't quite name yet. Ryan's out more than he's home, clinking glasses with colleagues while I'm here, sketching logos or staring at the same four walls. I don't begrudge him the socializing. He works hard. But those nights out, the ones that stretch past midnight with the scent of whiskey on his breath when he finally stumbles in, they're piling up. And me? I'm left with this quiet ache, a loneliness that creeps in when the house is too still. When I realize I can't remember the last time we really talked. Then there are his friends, the ones who always seem to be around when he's not with me. They're a tight-knit crew, and I've met them plenty over the years, though I've never quite clicked with any of them. First, there's Jake, pushing 40, the kind of guy who fills a room with his voice before you even see him. He's loud, brash, always the one pushing for one more round, one more story, one more laugh. He's the life of the party, or so he thinks. I've always found him a bit much, like he's trying too hard to prove something. Then there's Mark, a little older, around 40, and the complete opposite. He's quiet, almost withdrawn, the kind of guy who hangs back at the edge of the group, nursing a beer while everyone else gets rowdy. I've caught him watching the chaos with this odd, unreadable look, like he's somewhere else entirely. So there I was, that fateful Friday night, finally settling into the kind of quiet I'd been craving all week. The house was still, save for the faint hum of the fridge in the kitchen. I'd poured myself a steaming mug of chamomile tea, the kind that warms you from the inside out, and curled up on the couch in my favorite oversized sweater. My phone was in hand, mindlessly scrolling through social media. Cute dog videos, old friends' vacation pics, the usual. It was just past 8:30 p.m., and I was letting the weight of a long, draining week slip off my shoulders. The living room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of a single lamp in the corner, casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. For once, I felt like I could breathe, like the silence was a friend, instead of a reminder of how alone I often felt in this house. Then, without warning, around 9 p.m., the front door slammed open with a force that made me jump, nearly spilling my tea. My heart jolted as I heard the unmistakable sound of Ryan's slurred laughter, louder and more reckless than I'd heard in a while. He stumbled into the house, his tie hanging loose around his neck like a noose he'd tried to escape, his shirt half untucked, and his eyes glassy with whatever he'd been drinking. Behind him came the usual crew, Jake, Mark, and Ethan, each in their own state of disarray. Jake was carrying a case of beer under one arm, his other hand waving wildly as he bellowed some crude joke about a barmaid that I'd rather not repeat, though you can imagine the gist of it. His voice echoed through the house, bouncing off the walls like a wrecking ball, shattering any trace of peace I'd managed to scrape together. Mark shuffled in behind him, clutching a bottle of cheap whiskey, his half-smile awkward and forced, like he wasn't sure he even wanted to be here. Ethan, at least, gave me a small nod as he passed by, a flicker of politeness before he joined the others, though it did little to ease the intrusion. They didn't wait for an invitation, not that I expected them to. They stormed into the living room like they owned the place, dropping the beer and whiskey onto the coffee table with a careless thud. Within seconds, the TV was blaring a sports game, some basketball match I couldn't care less about. The commentators shouting over each other as if they were in the room with us. Ryan grabbed his old stereo from the shelf, cranking up some rock playlists so loud the bass rattled the picture frames on the walls. Beer cans were popped open, foam spilling over the edges and onto the table, leaving sticky rings I knew I'd be cleaning up later. Jake let out a whoop as he poured a shot of whiskey, splashing some on the floor without a second thought, while Mark just sank into the armchair, already looking like he was regretting every life choice that led him here. I'm sitting there on the couch, my chamomile tea long forgotten, the mug cold in my hands as the chaos of Ryan and his friends fills the room. The music is pounding, some old rock anthem I don't even recognize, and the air is thick with the smell of beer and whiskey. I'm trying to shrink into myself, to become invisible amidst the noise, but it's impossible. My heart's already racing from the sudden intrusion, and I can feel the tension in my shoulders, tight as a coiled spring. I glance at Ryan, hoping for just a flicker of acknowledgement. A sign that he sees how out of place I feel, but he's too far gone, laughing too loud at something Jake said. His face flushed from the alcohol. Then, out of nowhere, it happens. Ryan suddenly lurches to his feet, swaying like a ship caught in a storm. His eyes, glassy and unfocused, lock onto me, and before I can even process what's coming, he jabs a finger in my direction. The room seems to shrink as his voice cuts through the music, slurred but sharp enough to slice right through me. "You, Amber," he slurs, his words dripping with venom. "You're so damn cold. Always so distant. What happened to you? You don't even care about me anymore, do you? You've changed, and I'm sick of it." Each word lands like a punch, heavy and deliberate, and I feel my chest tighten, my breath catching in my throat. I can't believe he's saying this, not just to me, but in front of everyone. Jake's smirk freezes into something uncomfortable, his usual bravado faltering as he shifts in his seat. Mark stares down at his drink, his fingers tightening around the glass like he wishes he could disappear into it. Ethan's brow furrows, his gaze flicking between Ryan and me, a storm of something unreadable brewing in his eyes. My face burns, a searing heat of humiliation spreading from my cheeks down to my neck. My heart is hammering so hard, I'm sure everyone can hear it over the baseline. I open my mouth to say something, anything, to defend myself or maybe just to ask him to stop. But the words stumble over each other, barely a whisper. "Ryan, I start, but he cuts me off, his voice rising even louder, jagged with anger. "I'm done trying to make you happy, Amber. Done. You don't even try anymore." The accusation hangs in the air, heavy and suffocating, and before I can even blink, he turns on his heel, staggering toward our bedroom. The door slams shut behind him with a force that shakes the walls, the sound echoing in my ears like a gunshot. I'm left sitting there, frozen, my hands trembling around the mug, fighting the tears that are already prickling at the corners of my eyes. The room falls into a suffocating silence, the music still blaring but somehow distant now, like it's coming from underwater. I can feel their eyes on me, Jake's awkward glance, Mark's averted gaze, the weight of their pity or judgment, or whatever it is they're thinking. I want to sink into the couch, to vanish completely, but I can't move. My throat is tight, my chest aching with the effort of holding myself together. I've never felt so exposed, so raw, like every crack in my marriage has just been laid bare for everyone to see. I keep my eyes fixed on the coffee table, on the sticky rings left by spilled beer, anything to avoid looking at them, to avoid seeing the confirmation of what I already feel, that I'm the problem, that I've failed somehow. Then, I hear the soft shuffle of footsteps. I don't look up at first, too lost in the storm inside my head, but I sense someone approaching. It's Ethan. His steps are hesitant, almost cautious, like he's not sure if he should be doing this. He lowers himself onto the couch beside me, close enough that I can feel the warmth of his presence, but not so close that it feels intrusive. His voice, when he speaks, is low and gentle, a stark contrast to the harshness of Ryan's words just moments ago. "Hey, Amber, you okay?" Ethan asks, his tone soft, like he's afraid I might shatter if he speaks too loudly. I don't answer right away, still staring at those sticky rings on the coffee table, my hands clenched so tight around the cold mug that my knuckles are white. But his presence, it's like a lifeline in this drowning silence, and slowly I lift my eyes to meet his. There's no judgment there, just concern, and something else I can't quite place, something that makes my already racing heart skip a beat. I manage a small nod, though I'm not sure I believe it myself. "I'm fine," I mutter, my voice barely above a whisper, cracked at the edges. But I'm not fine, not even close. The weight of Ryan's accusations still presses down on me, each word replaying in my mind like a broken record. Ethan doesn't push, though. He just sits there, his shoulder close to mine, and for the first time in what feels like forever, I don't feel completely alone. Then, almost instinctively, he reaches out, his arm sliding around my shoulders in a gesture that's meant to comfort. And it does. His warmth seeps through the thin fabric of my sweater, and I find myself leaning into it, my body betraying the chaos in my head. It feels safe, like a harbor in the storm, so different from the icy distance I've grown used to with Ryan over these past months. His hand starts to move, gently rubbing small circles on my back, and I can't help but close my eyes for a moment, letting the sensation wash over me. My head finds its way to his shoulder, resting there, as if it's the most natural thing in the world. I can feel the steady rise and fall of his chest, the warmth of his breath as it brushes against my ear when he leans in just a little closer. "You don't deserve that, you know," he whispers, his voice low and earnest, each word laced with a quiet intensity. "You're not cold. You're more than he sees." His words hit me hard, stirring something deep inside, something I've tried to bury under layers of routine and resignation. I want to believe him, to cling to this moment where I feel seen, wanted, like I matter. But my mind is a battlefield. One part of me screams to pull away, to stand up and walk out of this room, to remember the promises I made to Ryan all those years ago. Vows aren't just words. They're supposed to mean something, even when everything feels broken. I think of the ring on my finger, the weight of it suddenly heavier than ever, a reminder of a commitment I'm teetering on the edge of breaking. Yet, another part of me, a louder, hungrier part, craves this. Craves the way Ethan's touch feels like a balm to wounds I didn't even know were still bleeding. It's been so long since I've felt anything close to this, since someone looked at me like I wasn't just a fixture in their life, something to be taken for granted. I'm torn, split down the middle, and I can feel the fracture widening with every second I stay here, pressed against him. I glance around the room, trying to anchor myself to something, anything, that might pull me back from this edge. Jake and Mark have slipped outside for a smoke, their muffled voices barely audible through the cracked window, leaving just the two of us in this dim, flickering space. The living room feels smaller now, the single lamp in the corner casting soft golden shadows over the worn couch and the cluttered coffee table. The TV is still on, some late-night rerun playing in the background, the sound muted, but the flickering light dancing across the walls. It's like the world has shrunk to just this moment, this bubble of quiet tension that's so thick I can barely breathe. The air feels charged, electric, like the slightest movement could spark something I'm not sure I'm ready for. Ethan shifts slightly, his hand moving from my back to brush a stray strand of hair from my face. His fingers linger just a moment too long on my cheek, and I feel a shiver run down my spine, a mix of fear and something I can't, or won't, name. My breath hitches as I look into his eyes, those deep, searching eyes that seem to see right through the walls I've built. I'm caught, suspended in this fragile space, where every choice feels like it could shatter everything. And then, before I can stop myself, before I can listen to the part of me that's screaming to pull back, I lean in. Our lips meet, tentative at first, like we're both testing the waters of a forbidden sea. It's soft, almost hesitant. a whisper of a touch that sends a jolt through me, waking up parts of my heart I thought had gone dormant long ago. But that hesitation doesn't last. It can't. Years of loneliness, of feeling unseen, of aching for something more. They all come rushing to the surface, and the kiss deepens, turning desperate, hungry. It's like I'm trying to pour every unspoken word, every buried longing, into this single moment. His hands find my waist, firm but gentle, pulling me closer as if he's just as starved for this connection as I am. I can taste the faint bitterness of beer on his lips, a sharp contrast to the warmth of his breath, and it only heightens the rush, the dizzying mix of guilt and desire that's tearing through me. My fingers curl into the fabric of his shirt, clinging to him like he's the only thing keeping me grounded, even as I feel myself spiraling out of control. My heart is pounding so hard it feels like it might break through my chest, and every nerve in my body is alight, hyper-aware of every point where we touch. We're still in the living room, half hidden by the shadow of the couch, the dim glow of that single lamp casting a golden haze over us. The distant sound of Jake and Mark laughing outside, their voices muffled through the cracked window, barely registers in my mind. My world has narrowed to this: Ethan, me, and the storm of emotions I can't contain. The flickering light from the muted TV dances across his face, highlighting the intensity in his expression, the way his eyes are half closed, lost in this just as much as I am. The air feels heavy, thick with the scent of spilled beer and the heat of our closeness, and I can't hear anything over the roar of my own pulse, the way it drowns out everything else. Our touches grow bolder, more urgent, as if we're both racing against some invisible clock, knowing this can't last but unable to stop. We shift, moving toward a secluded corner near the hallway where the shadows are deeper, where it feels like we can hide from the weight of what we're doing. His hand slides up my back, a slow, deliberate motion that sends heat pooling in my core, and I press closer, losing myself in the way he feels, the way he makes me feel, like I'm alive again, like I'm wanted. My own hands explore, tracing the lines of his shoulders, the tension in his frame, and for a fleeting second, I let myself forget everything else. I let myself drown in the sensation, in the forbidden thrill of it all, even as a voice in the back of my mind screams that this is wrong, that I'm crossing a line I can't uncross. But then, just as quickly as it started, reality crashes over me like a tidal wave. I pull back, my breath ragged, my lips still tingling from where they met his. My chest heaves as I try to catch my breath, and suddenly, the weight of what I've done slams into me with brutal force. Nausea rises in my throat, sharp and bitter, as I realize the depth of my betrayal. This isn't just a moment of weakness. It's a fracture in everything I've built with Ryan, everything I promised to honor. And yet, it's not even about spite or anger toward him. It's about me, about this deep, aching need to feel loved, to feel something other than the emptiness that's been eating at me for so long. I press a trembling hand to my mouth, trying to steady the storm inside me. But it's no use. The guilt is a living thing, clawing at my insides, and I can't shake the feeling that I've just shattered something irreparable. My eyes dart toward the hallway, half expecting to see someone there, to see judgment or shock staring back at me. And then, I do see something, or rather, someone. My heart stops as I lock eyes with Ryan, standing just at the edge of the dim light spilling from the hallway. His face is unreadable, a mask of shadow and stillness, like a statue carved from the darkness itself. He doesn't yell, doesn't storm over, doesn't even flinch. He just stares. For a moment that stretches into eternity, I'm frozen under the weight of his gaze, waiting for the explosion I know I deserve. But it doesn't come. Instead, he turns slowly, almost mechanically, and walks back toward the bedroom. The door closes behind him with a soft click, a sound so quiet it's somehow louder than any slam could ever be. Panic surges through me like wildfire. My hands are shaking uncontrollably as I push Ethan away, the warmth of his touch now a scalding reminder of my betrayal. "I'm sorry," I stammer, the words tumbling out in a frantic rush, directed at him, at myself, at the empty air between us. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean—" My voice cracks, and I can't finish the thought. Ethan opens his mouth, his expression a mix of confusion and regret, trying to say something to bridge the chasm I've just opened, but I don't give him the chance. I'm already on my feet, stumbling away from the couch, away from him, away from the scene of my unraveling. My legs feel like they might give out as I make a beeline for the kitchen. The cold tile under my bare feet a sharp contrast to the heat still lingering on my skin. I reach the sink and turn on the faucet, letting the icy water rush over my hands before splashing it onto my face. It's a shock to my system, a desperate attempt to wash away the haze of what just happened, to cool the burning shame that's consuming me. Droplets drip down my chin, soaking into the collar of my sweater, but I barely notice. I grip the edge of the counter, my knuckles white, trying to steady my ragged breathing. In and out, I tell myself, but each breath feels like it's dragging glass through my lungs. My mind is a whirlwind, replaying that moment with Ryan in the hallway over and over. His silence, his retreat, the way he didn't even fight for us. What does it mean? What did he see in me in that split second before he turned away? Disgust? Indifference? I don't know, and the not knowing is tearing me apart. The rest of the night passes in fractured, disjointed pieces, like a broken mirror reflecting only shards of reality. I hear the back door creak open at some point, Jake and Mark stumbling back inside, their voices loud and oblivious to the tension that's suffocating me. They're laughing about something, probably some dumb story from the bar, completely unaware of the wreckage I've created in their absence. I stay in the kitchen, hiding in the shadows, pretending to busy myself with cleaning up the mess of beer cans and spilled whiskey on the counter. I don't look at Ethan, but I feel his presence lingering near the living room, sense the weight of his gaze every now and then. When it's finally time for them to leave, I catch a glimpse of him as he heads for the door with the others. He turns back for just a moment, his eyes meeting mine, and there's a flicker of something raw and regretful there, a silent acknowledgement of the line we crossed. Then he's gone, the door shutting behind them, leaving me alone with the oppressive quiet of the house. Ryan doesn't come out of the bedroom. I don't go in. I can't face him, can't bear to see whatever truth might be waiting in his eyes. Instead, I curl up on the couch, pulling a don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.